yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. Try again. If at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Try again. Dust yourself off and try again.
Oh, thank you. Good luck. I know. I just here.
1 2 1 2. So I like people meeting people. This is what Let's Talk is about. Yeah, you could get rid of that. So right now we are live, and I think this is like my 16th Let's Talk. So that means that I've had 16, or more than 16, because sometimes I've had 2 at a time, but 16 different people. But I got 2 special people with me today, and to my left, Janice Falconer. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
All right, Janice Falconer. She's running for District 13, and you could tell us what District 13, what areas is District 13?
This is Providence Johnston line.
Oh yeah, let me get this over to you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Providence Johnston line, Silver Lake area.
All right, and Nathan, I don't know. Let me make sure I say your name. I want to try it. Your last name correctly.
Try.
Biah?
You got it.
All right. There was a song back in the day, Biah.
That's it.
You knew that song?
That's it. That's
All
your
right.
brother.
All right. So Nathan Biah, and he's going for running for District 3. And District 3 is?
District 3 is about where the north end of Providence. That's
Okay.
Charles Street, Branch Avenue, Smith Street, Chalkstone, Admiral Street, Douglas, that whole area, the whole north end, Smith Hill area.
That's a tough one too.
Yeah.
That's tough over there. So I'm gonna speak to both of these candidates. They're actually trying to upseat 2 other candidates right now, and they're working hard to do it. And we want to introduce them to you so you understand who they are and what they're doing and how they're doing and the different things that they're going to be doing for the community and trying to do for the community. So I want to start with Janice and ask her, like, what made you want to even run for this system, period?
Well, I feel as though we need voices, right? We need people who are going to stand up, people who are going to fight for their rights for people in our community, people who have experience in the community as far as the way laws affect us. So people who are willing to educate themselves and take the challenge and try to create change, because that's what we need. We need change.
And was it something that you planned on doing, or like where you were like, eventually I'm gonna run for office, or was it something that you were like, you know what, I'm sick of what I'm seeing, and that's why I'm gonna run?
Well, it's something that I've always, it's been in the back of my mind. I've thought about it before. It wasn't until the last 3 years that I really made the decision to do it. And one of the reasons why is because, you see the possibilities, right? You start to see more people of color stepping up and going into the state house.
Yeah.
And you see that, you know what, you can do it too. And then when you do see them there and you see that, some of the laws that are being passed affect people in the community.
Yep.
That's when you say, well, that's not good. So what can we do about that? And then you see, just things aren't changing. Things are still remaining the same. And that's what really made me step up to the plate and say, I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of knowledge and a lot of vision. So that's one of the things that made me step up.
And Nathan, for you, what was your reasoning? Because I've known you for a long time.
A very long
did we
time.
work at Gilbert Stewart together?
Yes, no, we were.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Janice.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We worked at, was it Gilbert Stewart or Charles Fort?
Yeah, I think it was a Stewart. Yeah,
So
we worked together for a while.
Yeah. So when I was a teacher's assistant,
Yeah.
I believe.
I was at Perry Middle School.
Was it Perry?
Yeah, back in the days.
Nah, it wasn't there. I never was in Perry.
What was that? It was a Stewart?
I think it had.
Like, it was
so I
one
was
of
in
the
Gilbert
middle-
Stewart,
Uh-huh.
Charles Fort, Roger Williams. I did Roger Williams a little bit, and I think
Did
that was.
you do those still?
I did Del
Del
Sesto.
Sesto, yes.
Yeah, so I've known him for a long time, but he just didn't know I was DJ Ruckus. Like a lot of people don't. When I go out as Michael Costa, that's who I am.
Yeah.
And you better believe that's it. You know what I'm saying? I don't do none of the DJ Ruckus stuff, but I am DJ Ruckus. And when I called Nathan, I'm like, you're gonna remember my face, but you don't know who I am speaking to you right now. So he took the call. And what made you want to do anything you're doing right now? What made you want to step into the political arena?
I mean, first and foremost is basically looking at our community today, society today, and whereas one of the things I'll talk to when I walk around in the neighborhood, knock doors, just like, look, we have to step up in our community.
Mm-hmm.
We have to help ourselves, right? So no one's coming to save us. So definitely it was one of the things that motivated me to step up and to run for state rep. Because, oftentimes people that represent us now basically don't even listen to our voices.
Yeah.
They don't listen to us.
Yeah.
They go and make decisions based on what they feel. Forgetting to know that, there's representative democracy. You're representing a group of people. So you're just not representing yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So it's one of the things it's one of the things I'm telling people in my district, look, I don't have all of the answers. The answers is within the community. So we have community meetings. We're going to come together as community, as district. And what we decide was best for our district. This is going to be my role as your representative, is to be your voice on the table. We don't have voices on the table again for districts or rep for people within our community. So it's one of the things that motivated me to be the voice for District 3 residents and people of Providence.
What are some of the changes that you would like to see happen like ASAP? So I know a lot of things do take time. A lot of bills do take time. But what are some things in your district you would like to see change, like yesterday?
Housing. Look at housing, right? Because Chad Brown fall within my district, right? So one of the things to look at Rhode Island regs for public housing, right? So we're comparing public housing in Providence and comparing public housing in other districts, in other cities. So are they equitable? Those are some of the questions I'm going to start asking on the table. Are they equitable? If they're not, why not?
Okay.
Because we all pay taxes.
Yeah. Right?
People in Providence pay taxes. People everywhere in the other district pay taxes. But however, we are underprivileged in Providence, especially like within our public housing. So those are some of the things that were, really driving me to get in there to try to look at some of those things to see if I can make it better for the people within my district. And another thing again is that we're high-paying jobs.
Okay.
Right, for minorities.
Yeah.
For for minority one, but for everyone that within District 3, right, and within the state.
Yeah.
It's equitable. So there were a lot of things, where I can keep going on and on.
And I do understand.
But those are some of the things. Like, what's about my students, our students in the state of Providence? After school, what do we have for them after school? Because basically about after school programs. After school programs, like, are the kids engaged after school while parents at work?
Yeah.
It's because parents at work. When parents come home, parents are tired. Do we have programs out there for our students also? And also, school and after school programs, they are interrelated.
Yeah.
Right? So when we talk about educating our youth, after school program also has a great role in that, also has a great part in that to do that also. So those are some of the things that, like, some of the high burden issues that, I'm really going to start focusing on, like, for families and students in District 3.
Janice, when you the first I've known you forever with a capital ER, like ever. But when I seen you on TV, I was like, hold on, is that Janice on TV? You were introducing the reparations idea to Mayor Alorza. was that? How did that come about? How did you make that happen? Like that's a huge thing, and for you to be the spearhead of that situation, how did that work?
Well, I will just say that that happened, with all honesty, by accident.
Okay.
And I say that
Great things happen by accident,
I
by the
say
way.
that in a way because I was being brave when I asked the mayor, would he ever consider giving us reparations? And I came up with a solution, and my solution was in the form of tax exemptions.
Okay.
And I had a vision. The vision was that this city would lead the change, and that he was going to be the person to spearhead the change. And he agreed. He liked the idea. He was inspired by the idea. So everything that came after that was not Janice. I didn't really have much to do with the process that he and his administration came up with, which is the Truth, Reconciliation, and Reparations process. I didn't have anything to do with that. I just basically asked the question, and then I followed up a couple of weeks later, and I was surprised to know, and happily surprised to know, that he had taken a lot of thought into it, and that they were working on the Truth, Reconciliation, and Reparations process.
So, in the thought of reparations for Black and Indigenous people in Rhode Island, like how can we make this actual thing that we can actually, something that we can actually have, not something that's thought about? Because from what I'm seeing, the thought process could be a thought process for 10 years, but how do we make it not a thought process for 10 years, but something that could actually happen?
So
in your opinion.
So they are working towards it. So I am listening in on the meeting. So we have several groups. So we have a large working group, and then we have several smaller subgroups that we break out into. And one of them is for the truth telling. And so we're currently working on that right now. They're creating a timeline and a project plan. So he's probably going to make an announcement within the next week or so for the truth process. I did propose that we work on all three aspects simultaneously, just so that it wouldn't be something that's going to be stretched out for a long period of time. So, but I am happy to say that there has been a lot of progress being made towards the truth portion of it.
Okay.
So we are moving rapidly. This is definitely a priority.
Just in that line of question, and do you think, and you can also answer this too, Nathan, do you think that reparations is something that in our lifetime we'll be able to see versus having, maybe our kids will possibly see this, but we're having these talks now. We've had similar talks for years before this. At this point in time, do you think it's something that we can definitely end up grasping?
Yes. I believe this is something that is possible right now. I believe right now is the time. I believe because of, everything that's come together, is creating, it's bringing everything to the surface.
Okay.
So a lot of things have been hidden in the past, but reparations have been talked about, all the way to the high court, to the federal level. This has been, Cory Booker just put a proposal into the Senate in 2019 for this. So this is not something that only we're talking about. So yes, so I believe that this is something that can be possible. I believe that the work that we're doing here in Providence, coupled with the work that other cities are doing, because we all came out right around the same time. So, Asheville, North Carolina, there's a couple of other places that are doing reparations as well in Chicago. And then you have, the proposal that was presented to the Senate that, they're deliberating over. So definitely, I believe that if we keep, plugging away, keep making our voices heard, the truth being uncovered, that's going to be very important. I believe, with media, as far as, our people having an opportunity to have a voice.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. I believe that we will get there, and hopefully we'll be able to see it in our generation.
One of the listeners asked, "What are the three aspects?" Do you know the three aspects that?
Three aspects of what?
I guess you were talking about three aspects that.
Oh, the truth.
Yeah.
So the first part of the process is the truth. The second process is reconciliation, and the third part is the reparations. So that's the process, and there are several articles about it online, and you could look it up. So the truth telling, that's what we're working on now. And yes, and there are some grants available as well. So we'll probably be looking at funding, because we understand that the city has a very tight budget, right? We probably, where everybody wants to know where they're getting this money from. Well, don't worry about that. We're gonna get the money. That's all that matters.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? It's gonna come. It's gonna come. We're gonna keep fighting until we do it.
And I think from that aspect, I think that's where a lot of people have the question, the end product, exactly where would the money come from?
Right.
Yes. I think that is the key. Like the truth and all of those are great. So now the question now lies is like
So the reparations.
The reparation at
Right.
the end product, exactly. So I
Well-
think those were.
just to let y'all know, we're talking to Nathan Biah, and we're talking to Janice Falconer. They're both running for state rep for their district, and District 3 for Nathan and District 13 for Janice. You could call up 401-400-5002 if you want to speak to them and ask them questions. Maybe you're in their district and you want to know some things. I actually have some things I want to talk about with Nathan, because his district is a tough district. And I want to talk about. So I lived on Charles Street. And it was like one of the worst experiences of me living somewhere in Providence that I would never go. I don't think I would ever go back to that area and live again. I had two different locations on Charles Street, riddled with homelessness, like riddled with violence that was all over the street, like all times of night. It was just craziness. It was like literally living in downtown Manhattan, and I couldn't even get home. And plus, I didn't even want people to know I lived over there, so they could come knocking on my door about some BS. So, how do you attack that situation, because it's still there? There's a store there that I do like to get my pastelitos from. So I do be over there, but
And which is it's a good question. It's a pretty good segue into when people talk about defunding police.
Yes.
Right? So which is no for me. We need police. We need police in our community.
I also believe that we do need police.
So defunding police is not that's not where I stand. Right? We do need police. What we need is how they are trained, process and procedure, and what you're talking about, like in the Charles Street area. So this is what community police play a very key role.
Okay.
Right? Community policing play a very key role. Police walking the beat, knowing people in the neighborhood, knowing people in the community. Right? So, and once that happened,
and some police looking like the community.
Looking like the community.
Yeah.
A reflection of the community.
Yeah.
All right? So once that happened, right, that all of those other things that we're talking about, you have the connection within the community. You know how to deal with police. Will know how to deal with those issues. But if you're disconnected from the community, you have no connection in the community, right? So that would be very tough to fight. And one of the key things is I'm going to bring police on board. We got to come and say, let's have that tough discussion.
Yeah.
Let's talk. There is a substation right there, the Maxwell Dolly substation right there at the corner of our world.
R.I.P. to Max. He was a good police officer.
Yes. Right.
But good.
So the substation's right there. So since we have a substation right there, so now let us start meeting all of the officers that work in the substation, the lieutenant in the substation, right? So this way now, so if you're going to be part of our community, you have to know us, right? If you're going to work in our community, you have to know us.
I think that's something that they've been missing for a long time. The police have been missing for a long time. Understanding the people they're policing and getting to know the people they're policing is it stops from a lot of different things that could happen. I know that there's been times where I've gotten pulled over, or there's been a situation and I happen to know the police officer because a lot of them see me in the club. And I mean, by no means am I saying that every encounter has been great, because it hasn't. But the ones that I do know that I have worked with and that have seen me over and over and over again, they're like, "Oh, Ruckus, it's you. Go ahead, go about your day. I know you're not bothering nobody." You know what I'm saying? Because they know I'm not carrying the gun. You know what I'm saying?
That is the key right there. That is the key right there, because you know what? They know you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why community policing, right, is very good. Knowing the people in the community. So once you see like, oh, it's just this kid. Oh, he's no trouble. So, but if we don't have that connection, you don't hang in the community. You don't know the people in the community, right?
Yeah.
But you're policing them. So I mean, you are policing them.
Yeah.
Right? You are really policing them. You're not part of.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Since you're not part of, you're a stranger.
Exactly.
So until we come together as community, and this is one of my pet peeves as a state rep. Once I get in, it's like, oh, we have, for our community to be better, we have to work together.
I do believe that. I believe that. But there are some things that I also would like to bring up. Let me see what you think, Janice. Like when it comes to mental health evaluations for police officers, yes. I think that those need to be quarterly mental health police evaluations, because you never know what's going on in somebody's life. It could be some craziness going on. I also believe that we need to have, and I'm only using this as a metaphor, but like a baseball card with the stats for police officers that the community can see. So basically, their report card or their record publicly. I think that's something that if we could see what these guys are doing and how many arrests they're making, but how many police brutality complaints they have against them, those type of things are needed. Whereas they're allocating some funds for different things that we're probably never going to need ever, certain riot gear and so on and so forth. I think those things need to be taken away. So I think it's more of reallocating the funds than defunding the police. What do you think?
I agree, Ruckus, and I believe that...
And give it to us, Janice.
There should be some reform, some sort of police reform, okay? So when we look at the creation of the police, why they were created, and how it affects black people today, this is what needs to be reformed. So I believe that they should be regulated just like every other business in the state of Rhode Island. There are regulations, rules and regulations that need to be followed. The police have their own Bill of Rights that protects them, but it doesn't protect the community. So who's holding the police accountable? So these are the type of things that concern me. Now, do I agree with defunding them? To some extent. I don't believe that they should be defunded fully, but I do believe that some of those funds could be allocated towards mental health professionals who are just trained just as well as the police, okay, to be able to protect the public. And I also believe that they should, like one of you guys mentioned, they should be able to have a code of ethics, right, that they need to abide by. People's lives should be equal. Okay, you don't treat one person different by the color of their skin or because you know that person. You should be treating all people with respect, because the police, I've had experiences with the police, and they don't necessarily treat everyone with respect. So I believe that there needs to be some level of respect that is extended to the public, because they are in place to protect the public. And also, every 2 years, they should have requirements. Code of ethics training, they should be constantly, continuously being trained. I don't think that they should just be trained one time and that's it. You talked about mental health.
You're trained for every single job. So.
But you talk, exactly. So why 20 jobs for one person? And you talked about mental health. What kind of toll is that taking on our police officers' mental health, right?
And in addition to that, right, so can we look at like police training? Right. Right? Let us look at how they're trained, right? On the police academy. So those are all of those things that basically we have to just sit back and take a look at the regs that's on the book for world. You know, what are some of the regs on the book for police officers, right? So we have to take a look and say, like, are these laws antiquated? Are these some of those laws that's on the books antiquated laws? Are these old laws that, you know? So those are some of mine that were my concern that, you know, going to the state house are going to be taking a look at. So looking at some of those laws are very old laws that
Right, they haven't been
affecting
updated.
us today because we keep evolving, right? But we still have those old laws that are impacting our community.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that we need to look at the laws that are on the books and make sure that they're up to date. We're getting into 2025. Like we got laws from the 30s,
Yeah,
the
30s,
70s.
yes.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Especially the Policeman's Bill of Rights,
Yeah.
which is like so old. It shouldn't. And it was the Good Old Boys Network.
Yep.
That they put together this Policeman's Bill of Rights. So me personally, I would like to see that that handled first.
Yes, reform.
I would like, before we go into defunding the police, let's attack this one thing. And I think if everybody's energy was at that first, because there are cities without this Policeman's Bill of Rights. We're one of the few cities with it.
Yep.
So I think that we should attack that first. But that's who am I? You know.
No,
I mean, you know, I think once we start to talk about this, because it's one of mine now where, you know, it's one of my interests right now where it's like, you know, let us look at the laws on the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it all falls back on the laws on the books. So if the laws on the books are like it's impacting our community and policing, we
Yeah.
have to take a look at it. And what you said, DJ, that is the first place we need to take a look at.
Yeah. What you were saying?
We need to take a look at racism, okay? So when you have a police department who does not represent the people of the community on the form of race, and then we have racism, right? We need to be able to ensure that the people of the community are being represented by the people of the community. We need to ensure that the people of the community are being protected by the people, they look like the people in the community. Because of the ugly beast that we have
Yeah.
in the United States, which is racism, right? Just because of that. So because of racism, we're disproportionately affected, okay? So 20 years ago, we're coming up on the anniversary, God rest his soul. The police officer was murdered by his own colleagues.
Cornell Young.
Okay, so these are the type of issues that need to be addressed. Okay, we need to take from the past and learn from those mistakes and implement plans, projects, processes that's going to change the way we police in the future. Okay, because we don't need things like this happening. We don't need to sweep things under the rug. We don't need to forget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in addition, like, you know, racism is also embedded within the laws.
Exactly.
All right. So this is why looking at the law is it's a key point that we have to take a look at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes.
Paige Pina said you can't attack the Police Bill of Rights without reforming the 14th Amendment. I mean, I don't.
Is it the 13th or is it the 14th?
Well, I mean, she could expound on that as
Yes, tell her to
she's
call.
on there.
I would love to hear I would love to hear.
How would they get around the 14th Amendment? So she's adamant about the 14th Amendment. So
Okay.
Constitutional issue.
yeah, no, and I think it's exactly what Nathan was saying about how a lot of these laws are old laws, and we got to start from that ground up.
amendments.
But
So
you know,
I
Ken?
would respond to her. I've been doing a lot of research into the 13th Amendment, which goes back to slavery for the U.S. Constitution, which made people free unless they committed a crime, which made them a criminal. So people have become criminals for petty crimes because they couldn't afford to feed their family, so they had to probably take a corn on the cob out the garden.
yeah,
Right? Or a couple of cherry tomatoes, right? So now they're going to jail for petty crimes. You just had 2 days ago, or was it yesterday, that I read an article for Louisiana. There was a man he's doing life in prison for stealing hedge clippers, a set of hedge clippers, and they just brought it back to the Supreme Court to see if he could be released, if they could overturn the judgment, and they said no, they're keeping the man in prison for hedge clippers from 20 to 30 years ago. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, these are the type of things that make absolutely no moral sense whatsoever.
And again, right, and we do agree. If you follow the trend, at the end, they all would say, like, let us wait and look at the facts, and we'll go force right back on the laws again.
Right.
So until we get into that and start to make some amendments, right?
Right.
We're going to keep going.
That same
like a
cycle.
reverse, it's the circle. The amendment on the books, on the regs, the laws, this is where we need to attack first.
Right. So you have mass incarceration.
Yep.
Mass incarceration was breeded from the 13th Amendment.
Yep.
Okay, so mass incarceration in the United States, it's on Netflix. There's a whole video about it, right? There's a whole documentary about it. There's several people who are working on this right now that's bringing the truth to light. So Providence has been affected by it. I personally have been affected by it as well because I grew up in Providence, and I grew up in the era and the time when they had the war on drugs, when they brought the drugs into our communities, when the drugs were ruining our families. The whole effects of mass incarceration, just, putting people in prison, you ruin their lives with a charge. Then they can't get a
minor
job.
charge, by the way.
Right.
Well,
a non-violent, right?
Even a charge. Just to expound off what you're saying, even a charge that at this point right now we have legalized marijuana
Yep.
dispensaries right now, and we got people in doing real time for marijuana charges.
Right.
So I totally agree with you. Can we shift into education because.
Sure.
As we're speaking about officers being like the community, looking like the community, actually living in the community, the officers, these kids that we are educating, they might want to be officers, but from what I'm seeing, with the trend of defunding the police and the trend of the police are bad, it makes our youth not want to be police officers. And I would like some sort of program that would help a kid learn, actually get some sort of funding to be that police officer that he would like to be or she would like to be. What do you think about that?
I think that's great.
I think Providence Police have a pretty good program. I think they call it the Explorer program.
I have heard about it.
Yes,
Yep.
I think it was one of the good things like the Providence does with the Explorer program. To bring kids in from high school and start mentoring them throughout the whole process. I think probably if I'm not mistaken, I think it goes for maybe I don't know how many months, but about 6, 7, 8 months. But probably it's a very intensive training. However, once those kids are done, they have the experience, everything else, riding with the cop, going through all of this whole process. They are now they have seen actually what they want to do after high school. So, and some of the kids I've known, right after high school, went to become a Providence police officer through the Explorer program. So I think those are some of the things, bringing the community in.
I think it's about, but we're also forgetting to make it okay to be a police officer.
Yeah.
We want people like Corey Brown that is a police officer right now.
We shouldn't be, it shouldn't be from that negative perspective, kind of driving kids from being police officer. So we should start encouraging our kids
because we train our kids as soon as they get a chance to get a basketball in their hand, football in their hand, a baseball in their hand, any type of sport. I think we need to also train their brains to be these lawyers, these district attorneys, and let them understand where their history is, what their history is, so they understand how to actually go out there and represent the community that looks like them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the more we have, right, the more students we have that's going in these various areas, after high school, police, going to college, law enforcement, become a lawyer within your own community. kind of helps the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Johnny down the street, hey, guess what? Johnny's a lawyer now.
Yeah.
So Johnny knows everyone in the neighborhood. Johnny can help people in the neighborhood. Johnny's a cop right now. Johnny's
Well, how do we help that?
So
how
it's
do we
like
help that? How do we help Johnny get the money for the books? Johnny get the money for tuition. Johnny get the money for to support himself while he's in college, trying to be that lawyer, trying to be that police officer, trying to be that district attorney. How do we do that, Janice? How do we support this young man, this young female to go out there and be that?
It comes back to education, right? We have to educate ourselves. We have to educate ourselves on our history,
Hey, Heather.
on who we truly are, right? We are the chosen people of God, and these are the things that we need to know. And this is what our community is lacking. Our community does not know who we are, so we pretty much go with the flow. And I think that once we come back to who we are and our true identity, I believe that we will be able to come together and unite. And once we do that, we'll be able to support each other better. Because right now, it's all about class. Everyone is concerned about who makes the most money, who owns the most houses, who owns the most cars, who got the best sneakers, right? This is, who got the most money in their bank, right? So these are the things that, is affecting our people more than it's affecting other nations, right? Because they, like Caucasians, they have wealth that's been passed down to them from generation to generation. Our community has been oppressed, so we're still learning how to build wealth. And those of us that have built wealth aren't really in our neighborhoods, in Providence anyway, but we do see people who we can look up to and see that building wealth is possible. But we need to educate each other. We need to educate the people in our communities. We need to educate our youth and stop falling for anything. Stop following and start leading.
And in addition to that, right? So for example, we're a URI have a program for minority engineering program, right? So if you're a minority and you want to go into the engineering field, URI has a pretty good program for that. Kind of subsidize you with some extra funds, everything else. So I think this is some of the things that I'm going to be looking at also, to be able to start looking for certain funds for minority students who would like to go into law enforcement, who would like to go into law, to become lawyer and become doctors. So I think if we start looking at some of those, and allocate some funds for minority students to start going to these areas. So those are some of the things I'm looking into, to start gathering, funds once I get to the state house, start going passing bills that will kind of support minority students through for post-secondary education.
Okay.
What about media?
Yeah.
So we need the media, right, Ruckus? Teach
We
the
do
people.
need the media. We do
Teach
need the
them.
media, but I wanna focus on what you guys are really going after and trying to do it within your communities and your districts. What else do you have on the table, Janice, for your district, District 13? As a matter of fact, I don't even want to talk about that. I want to talk about your the incumbent. I want to what is he missing? What is he doing that isn't helping the community at all?
He's not doing anything. That's what he's doing. Okay? He's not doing anything. So I've spoken to our constituents. I speak to the people in the community on a daily basis, and he hasn't done anything since he's been in there for the last 2 years. Neither has the previous person before him, which both of them are my opponents.
Okay.
And the reason why I've decided to make that step and actually run. So, yes, you have people in office who are writing bills, who are trying to create change, and then you have people who don't. The last two incumbents, the people that I'm running against right now, one of them, I haven't even met him until I ran into him on the campaign trail a couple of weeks ago. He's the current state representative. I did not know who he was. I haven't met him. He hasn't knocked on my door. He hasn't called me, anything. The last 2 years, we haven't had any type of meetings in the community, but we have laws that are being passed that specifically affect people in that community. Like in my community, we have Open Doors, okay? Open Doors is in our community. Open Doors is a place that helps people who have are released from prison. Yep. And then so you have the 2018, you have the expungement law that was recently passed. So we should have had a representative in office at that time to say no, don't change the expungement law. It was bad the way it was in the first place. So don't change it and make it worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now we're looking at the homeless community, and the homeless community is increasing. And I'm not going to sit here and blame it on the expungement law, but I believe that after 7 years, it goes off your credit report. Then after 7 years, if it's a nonviolent crime, you should not have to be explaining something that happened 20 years ago.
So you could get employment.
For you can get employment, right?
Gainful employment and voting rights.
Right. So I feel as though the seat has been left unattended, and that's the reason why I'm running. And also, people in the community are suffering. They're struggling. I met a woman the other day. I called her, and I asked her, would she be willing to vote for me? I explained to her who I was, and she basically let me know no one does anything for her. No one calls to check on her. No one says anything. I'm not going to go into that story with the woman, but to make a long story short. Was she elderly? Yes, she was elderly.
Okay.
She didn't have food. So I brought food, and I left it at her door. She wasn't going to open the door anyway. I told her, don't worry about it. I'm just going to leave it at your door because she's scared of COVID-19. So now you have the media.
I think politicians have lost the act of caring, period.
Oh,
right.
Don't get me going.
Just from speaking to her, I already started working on a bill. Just from speaking to her and hearing all of her concerns, I already started working on a bill. So before I even get in office, I'm already going with work that I have to do. Yeah. Just from speaking to her. I was moved by her. Like, I was so upset. I couldn't even sleep for almost 2 days. So I had to call her back the next day and check on her. Like, this was over a period of like 2 to 3 days. And I had to call her back to check on her. And I was like, would it be okay? I don't want to offend you, but would it be okay if I left food for you at your door? So I packed up, got her some dry goods and some fruits and some vegetables. And I left it at her door. And then she called the campaign phone and she was grateful. But
Are we forgetting about the elderly in the community
I think
because
so.
COVID? We feel like COVID has like started to eliminate the elderly community. Is that what's going on? Like, why are they being forgotten?
You see, I really don't even think that COVID should probably be a kind of barrier to that. So my question now is, did we forget about the elderly community before COVID came?
Well,
I think it's entitlement. I think these politicians feel like everything's entitlement, right? So the people that live in the district, people that live in the constituent, people that live in the ward, doesn't even know who's representing them.
Right. I just feel it's like a disservice to the community, because no one called me and asked me. I'm pretty sure no one went to Open Doors and said, they're about to pass a bill to change the expungement law. Would you have any concerns about it? No one came and said anything to me, and I'm pretty sure they didn't go to Open Doors and ask the people, the people who have felonies there. I'm pretty sure they didn't ask them. They didn't tell them that they can go down to the State House and, they could testify and voice their concerns of why this bill shouldn't be passed. No. So we need to educate our community. We need to be meeting with our community at least once a month. I mean, we're only going to be working 6 months out of the year. If you meet once a month, that's not going to take that much of your time.
Does that happen? I'm being a little naive here.
Does that even happens? Does
that happen where the rep for that district holds like a town hall? Does that happen like once a month? I don't know.
No.
I know it doesn't happen in my district.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
And this is exactly what we're saying, though. If you're representing the people, how you getting a voice at the State House? Right. And you're not hearing them. You're not calling them. You're not meeting with them. So how are their voice being heard at the State House? How are you representing them? So when you go to the State House, how are you voting?
Right.
Yeah.
So are you just voting because that's where you want to vote as an individual, forgetting to know that you are representing a group of people that live together, that everything that's passed down the State House is impacting their daily lives?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right now we're talking to Nathan Biah, district. He's working on. He's going to be the rep for District 3. And we have Janice Falconer, who's going to be the rep. I like to speak things out there.
I do.
Going to be the rep for District 13. These are black politicians. It's almost like it's almost like a myth when you hear that, like a black politician. You don't. And then if you hear black politician, you necessarily don't trust them.
Yeah.
Why is that a stigma in the black community where you shouldn't trust a politician?
I don't think that people not trust the politicians. I just think that there's a disconnect, right? There's a huge disconnect. So what happens is people get in office and they become disconnected from the community. So I think that could be a reason, and I think that black people just have a bad stigma, and I think it trickles down onto it. It spreads onto other black people. So they might think, oh, I don't want to get involved with this person, or because, they might have some sort of a reputation or whatever, And
Yeah.
instead of supporting one another, we're shying away from each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead. And in addition to that, it's the same. It's a total where politicians like come. Oh, okay, hey, if I win, when I win, I'm going to do X, Y, Z for you. So oftentimes they go into our community,
Yeah.
and promise us the whole world.
Yep.
And after the election, we don't see them again.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't see them again. Then we only see them the next election circle. Right. So
That could be
and
possible.
and those are some of the impact we're not. And this is why I'm telling people. I said, look, as I walk in my district, I'm telling people, I say, look, I don't have all of the answers. The answers lies in us as member of the community.
Yeah. Explain. We're gonna go back into explaining the areas of your district again, because there are people asking, what District 3? What areas is in District 3?
Our District 3 is like our Smith Street, Chuckstone Avenue, right? Smith Street, Chuckstone Avenue, Oakland Avenue. There was like Admiral Street, the Chad Brown area, Douglas, Charles Street. So the Smith Hill, the North End,
Okay.
right? Smith Hill and North End.
And District 13?
Providence Johnston line, Silver Lake area, and Nunaconicket Hill.
I also lived on Silver Lake area, which absolutely wasn't bad. I've lived in some areas. Silver Lake wasn't bad. I'll be honest with you. When we talk about, I actually, you have Chad Brown, which recently someone from Chad, I call him Bubbahead. Bubbahead, he just recently got murdered through the violence that's happening within our community. How is that something that we need to support his family, but we also need to let these the different people that are outraged about it, let them know that we're trying to keep these streets safe. How can you do that? And you're in that specific area that needs that talk, that needs to hear that.
And again, we're sympathize with the family, However, in addition to that, it's like, we go back again, our community. Who's in our community? Who, we'll go back to community policing in our community, right? So, and finding things looking for things for our youth to be engaged in also.
I like that.
Right? So, if we, even as an adult, as grown up, if we don't have anything to do, we find something to do. Mm-hmm. Right? So what's up with kids? What's up with teenagers? Right? So I think getting our teenager engaged in like a community program after school. And those are some of the things once I get to the State House, I'm going to be working towards specifically in District 3 to get my young adults, my teenagers, getting them engaged in the community. If they have work after school, schoolwork, homework club, after school work, something to get them engaged. And the whole thing is, it's not something like, I'm just going to come and say, look, this is what we're going to do. No, I have to bring these young people together. We have to sit and start having a discussion and see exactly, hey guys, what do we want to do? So, and oftentimes
we've lost music programs.
And exactly, that's why I say oftentimes we need to listen to them also and see exactly what they engage and what they like, and we start to bring it within our community.
Yeah.
So you take my music program, take my art program, or all of those things after school. Kids get engaged in those kind of things after school.
Yes.
But we don't have those things again, So after school, summertime, also summer program too for those kids also. So those are things that I'm looking into That once I become a state rep, comes September after the primary. September 8th is the primary. Right after the primary, I'm going to be like a representative elect. Then we're going to start working towards those things and start having meetings with families and kids to get them involved, get them engaged in our community. And also, those meetings will just not be for the kids also. Parents also going to be invited to those meetings. We're going to have parents meetings separately also. And now we're going to have the police also going to be part of our community meeting also with the parents also. So it's like, I'm going to try to bridge the gap, to bring everyone together, but it takes a while, but it's something like it's one of my first priority, try to do that.
I would love to see a lot of kids are engaged in music programs, but they would like to be engaged in music programs. A lot of kids come to this studio alone and record in our studio. But I would like to. When I was a kid, I started out with a recorder, the little flute joint, you know what I mean? And then I went to the piano, and then I went to the saxophone. But I constantly was dealing with instruments and dealing with the things that can make the music, you know what I mean? Yep. And then I ended up at this place right here. So I think that's what a lot of kids are missing. They're missing that. But in this age of technology, we need to bring these coding programs to these kids so they could understand computers and how computers work and how the internet works and how they could become the person that makes Google instead of the person that's on Google. You know what I mean? We definitely need to bring those programs back to the kids. How do we like get these teachers to understand that we're in the future right now. Like, these kids need this. How do we get the principals to bring these programs to the schools? Because from what I've seen and know, as a matter of fact, with my own kids, there are no music programs anymore. There are hardly activity type programs anymore. Like, my kid did take graphic design in school, and he's a graphic designer now, but we're missing that. You're on Let's Talk.
Hey, good afternoon or good evening. Yeah, I just wanted a few questions for both of the representatives. I appreciate you both taking the time out of your evening and filling us in on your game plan and a little bit of information on what needs to happen in the community and what you guys plan on doing when you guys get elected on September 8th. So what I really would like to ask is, and I'm just going to keep this real short, is what is your economic development agenda for the community that you're going to be serving? Because if there's anything that we need as a black community, it would be, and truly, it would be economic stability. I know there's some people out there in Pawtucket that bought property, and there's some other people that have some other real estate property, but we just don't have the disposable income to pay the rents for these type of developments and things of that nature. So with the disposable income with the medium home income only being about $45,000, what are we going to do economically? What is your plan economically to appreciate the values of these homeowners in those communities, especially that Douglas Avenue area, which is and around that Chad Brown area, and then also even around that Picasset Avenue area?
All right, thank you for your call. We'll answer that question, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
You can start, Janice, with that one.
So what I'm doing outside of my aspirations to become the state representative for District 13, I founded an organization called Impact RI, which educates people on the importance of home ownership and entrepreneurship. So that's one. So we have a real estate school, and we offer courses. Some of them are free, depending on whether or not you can afford it. We're also working on expanding into several other programs that's going to be able to help educate the community, because again, it goes back to education. So once we have an educated population, then we can start to increase our value, right? So as far as increasing the value for our properties and as far as economic development, we are fighting right now on the city level, because I volunteer for the city, to try and see if we can make the city more equitable. So we're gonna start there. So what I've noticed is that the influence passes on. Okay, so I'm gonna try to see what I can introduce at the city level, and see how we can get that to be picked up by the state as well. So the state is running a study that's been going on for a while now, for equity and inclusion. You're aware of it. So they are trying to educate business owners on, the bidding process so that they can get these government contracts, so that they can start getting these jobs to help rebuild the community. But it's all on us as individuals. The only way we're going to improve our own equity is through knowledge and educating ourselves.
And also for minority business, also within those districts, right? District 13 and District 3. So we're looking at minority business owners also, exactly, from the State House perspective, see, what are funds that are available for minority business owners also.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that we're going to be, I'm specifically going to be taking a look at, because, with our districts, like minority owners businesses, I think there's majority within those districts. So working with the business owner, the minority business owner in those districts, looking for funds at the state level to be able to leverage the equality that within the state will help will help our community also, and also increase our property value within that area. Because once you have the business owner not taking pride within a business, they know that they have help from the state, start taking pride within a business, then you see house owner within those areas also, property owner, everything. And like my counterpart just said, working with us, educating us also, knowing the ins and outs about all of these things, also help us. And also, look, the state have to help us, Are the funds up there for minority business owner, for small business? No, definitely. Can we help them in those districts? Definitely. I think those are things that she and I going to be working on once we be elected come September 8.
When it comes, I do see a lot of rundown. I do see a lot of abandoned houses that have been burnt down, houses that are not re-inhabited, just sitting there for years. I mean, there's times I've gone down and I'm seeing the same property. How do we unlock those properties so we could build some housing for some people? Because those houses that are just sitting there, I'm sure they're owned by somebody who's just letting it sit just to see whether the property value will go up in the area. They could rebuild some gentrification and all these other things that are going on. How do we unlock those properties? Is there something that we can access to unlock those properties that have been sitting there for years, just run down?
I think probably one of the processes that we have to work in collaboration with the state city officials, because most of these properties are within the city limits, right?
City.
Yes. So now we have to speak with the mayor and the mayor office and see exactly what is the plan with the city with these abandoned properties. So as you know that oftentimes when you see these abandoned properties, that's when you see crime rate increase, people just hanging around, homelessness, or all of those stuff start to increase within those areas. So this way now, city officials need to step up and work with. We're going to start working with city officials to make sure we start looking at those abandoned properties exactly, and start working with those landlords who own those abandoned properties and see exactly what are your plans for these properties. So I think once you start sitting when working with them and say, look, I mean, you can have abandoned property within a neighborhood for at least for over a year or two without making any move, without rebuilding, So these are things that we have to say with the city official to say, look, what are your plans for the city based on all of these abandoned property? Because I don't think anyone asking them questions.
Yeah.
So the city has the power to place fines on the people who are not keeping their property up. So that could be something, I mean,
A lot
I'm
of
a
them are
property
business
owner.
owners from other states.
Oh,
Right, and place a fine on them.
Yep.
Place
Yeah.
a fine. They're bringing down our neighborhoods. No one wants to see garbage. I don't want to see garbage in the front of my house. I don't want to have to keep calling the people to come clean up the mess for me because somebody walked by and threw trash. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I'm going to do my best to upkeep my property, and I'm pretty sure there's several other homeowners who are doing their best to upkeep their property as well. There's a house two or three houses up the street from me. The people are selling their house. The house next door, the trees, the weeds are growing up almost to the roof. And so I said, well, let me look up and see if this person's paying the taxes. The taxes are paid. All right, you're paying your taxes, but you're not upkeeping the property. You mean to tell me you can't send a landscaper over there?
Well, you was
The
doing your homework, huh?
The property is abandoned. You know what I mean? So, well, because it's abandoned. So I'm like, well, what's up with this property? So I
So now,
decided
yeah.
to look into
A lot of property be in what do you call it? Probate. Someone
could be
passes
it, too.
away, and a lot of property be in probate. But speaking of property and landlords, and with the COVID-19 and people had been out of work and they're not able to pay like a couple of months rent, 2-3 months rent because they weren't working. How could we help these families out? Try to figure out a way to take care of, because even the little stimulus check did absolutely nothing. Because if you have a home with 3-4 kids in it, or even one kid alone, that $1,200 was
Well, the city of
sopped
Providence, a couple of weeks ago had announced that they will be sending I believe it's over $1 million to legal aid. So people who are facing eviction, they will have an attorney to represent them, to help them, fight the eviction, or at least ease the pain of having to move, buy you some time, or whatever it is that they need to do. At least you will have an attorney there to help you. Also, there's going to be a specific amount of funds, and I don't like to say specific numbers because sometimes I might forget the exact amount, but I know there is millions of dollars being allocated to Rhode Island Housing, who's going to be working with a couple of other housing places to provide rental assistance. So they're going to try. There are funds available to help people stay in their apartments.
Did you want to say anything?
So
to that?
no, she had everything right. And I think the General Assembly also should. I think the Rhode Island General Assembly should be also help working with each cities and municipalities to be able to help people also stop being evicted, because we know exactly what he said. The stimulus package. I mean, like, how much is that? People that have like 2 kids, or 2 kids at home with the stimulus package. It's not much. So I think that the General Assemblies that need to start working with each municipalities to help people from these eviction notices and everything else, and also start having meetings with landlords. I think at some point of time, we need to get down there. We start having a meeting with landlords, and start finding exactly what's going on.
That's a good idea. I like that one. I want to get into, before we get out of here, I want to get into pop culture a little bit when it comes to Kanye West. And I'm only speaking about Kanye West because I want y'all to tell them what your thoughts are in how Kanye's plan right now is kind of tearing up everything that the whole voting process, you know what I mean? But I'll start with you, Janice. Like, you can, what do you think about what he's doing to our young kids? Because it's not older people who understand, but young kids may not understand what Kanye's doing.
All right. So when you look at the population of the United States, right, and you look at the population of our youth, the people who Kanye influences, how many followers does he have?
Millions.
Okay. So, no, I understand that. But what I'm saying is that how many people actually have voting power, right? And how many people are actually willing to place that vote? So Kanye is causing a diversion. And what's going to happen is he's going to split the vote. If people actually go out and vote for him, he could possibly split the vote. And that could be a problem because we really don't need another 4 years of the Trump administration. So as you can see, they've already placed this virus in the world. It's all over the world now. This
Yeah.
virus is a man-made virus. It was patented in 2012. It's a SARS virus. So this virus was sent out to specifically eliminate people in the population, right? So when they first came out with it, there was a goal of what, 100,000 people. Now, next thing you know, they was like, oh, it's only going to be 200,000 people, right? But we've already passed that mark. So the thing about it is, if you're trying to eliminate, certain populations, our most vulnerable populations, right? Let's be honest: elderly, people of color, children, disabled, right?
Yeah.
So that's not right. That's not morally right. And so when you have a person in office who is dividing the country, that they're instigating and bringing back all this racial tension that we kind of we were in a good place.
Yeah, we were
I would say.
softening it. Yeah.
We were softened in it, right? We were in a good place. But now you're bringing all this racial tension back, and it's dividing the country. And people are living in fear. And it's not good. We don't need another 4 years of this turmoil.
No, we don't need another 4 years of our current administration in the White House. We do not. And so in regards to where I think it's the younger population that, because the older population out there understand exactly what's going on, right? The transformation, everything that's what's going on. So the younger population now is how. So now, the question I usually ask myself when it comes to this kind of topic is how do we re-event going back to start convincing our younger kids hey, okay, kind, he's X, he's Y, he's Z. But however, look, here are things that are going to impact us. Here are things that are going to affect our life. So those are things that we want you to take a look at before it be too late.
Right.
Yeah. So I think these are questions I ask myself every night based on the rhetoric that's going on right now.
Yeah. Well, I also see, and I'm constantly in throughout social media, and I have a lot of young people because, like I said, a lot of young people come up here for the studio and different events that I do. So when I'm looking through social media, I'm seeing younger people saying, "Hey, Trump's not bad." I could literally screenshot 3 or 4 a day where they're saying Trump's not bad. He's given us some money through stimulus packages. He's actually what was the thing I seen the other day that I was like, oh, they're tripping. But someone had said we have to stop saying that he's dividing the country, and it was a female, by the way, a black female at that. And I'm like, what in the Candace Owens am I watching right now? These are things that I'm hearing that from young Twitter, Instagram people. These are also the future of the United States, right?
So, and I think it's the education piece right now. We really need to start getting into them and start educating them. So look at this thing from a global perspective, right? Look at it from a national perspective.
Exactly.
Right, so it's just not about the similar package today,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, so and I wanted to take a look at the bigger picture of this whole administration.
Yeah.
And what is yet to come if you give him another 4 years?
What is yet to come, right?
Yes.
Because we're looking at World War III. I think that is what is yet to come.
Civil war within these United States, man. Because I see how he's dividing different sectors of this country and making it worse when we're bringing things to light to make it better and educate people, because they're uneducated of the colored, the black community, period. Not even colored, black community.
Yeah.
They're uneducated from centuries ago. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
You're on.
The colored, the black community.
Hello?
Period.
Hello.
Not even black community. They're uneducated
Ruckus?
Yep, you're on.
Hi, I have a question to both guests. If I'm able to ask either one of them a question.
Yep, go ahead. You got to turn everything down back there because it's...
Everything is down. I'm just like down.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I came in late, so I want to, congratulate both individuals that are running. It definitely shows an interest, which it doesn't often happen in the community of color, especially when it is a position that someone is challenging an incumbent that's not of color, that's representing a district that is majority minority. So I commend both of you for stepping up. My question to both of you, while I understand that the issues on a national level is extremely important because it governs many of the things that affect our local government here in the state of Rhode Island, what is it that both of you in your own respective district that you are running in that you see a need to get done without having to include the national stream? Because what I've heard, and please accept my apologies because I came into the program a little late, but since I've been watching, it seems like the conversation is geared to the national level when I am very familiar with the many issues that's concerning right here in our local communities. What is it that either one of you are ready to do on the local level in the district that you all are running in and running for that's not properly being represented or being done in them?
All right, well, I'll let them answer that. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so Janice.
I'll answer first. Yep. Thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And yes, we were discussing our plans for the local level. So myself personally, I have a lot of things that I would like to fight for. So education, number one, especially for minority community. Our education, we're failing. And it's unacceptable. So we should have mandates that our education system should be across the board. It should be even. Our children should be receiving the same level of education that our children in Massachusetts are receiving, or the children in West Warwick or Warwick are receiving.
Yeah. Right?
Bristol, Barrington. So we need to bring our grades up. We need to bring the education up for our children. Our elderly population, our homeowners, right? So we're asking for all these bonds, and we're increasing our taxes. Okay, the situation that we're in now, people are going to get into a position where they're not going to be able to afford the taxes. We have a whole lot of people unemployed nowadays.
Yeah.
So there's that. Criminal justice reform. I'm gonna be clear. I'm gonna be honest. That's one of the main things that I'm gonna go after. I'm going to be trying to create bills that's going to help people regain control of their lives back, create opportunities for people, and stop holding people back. Those are some of my top main concerns. You have healthcare, right? Healthcare is another one that's important. There's some things that have been done that helps people, but then there's some people who don't know about it or they're not receiving the benefits from it. So those are my top concerns that I'm going to go into office and right away be working towards. And I would be happy to work with others on that as well. It's not something that I'm going to do alone. I'm going to listen to the community. I'm going to reach out to the community. I'm going to make sure that I hear the voices of the people in the community and their concerns.
All right, thank you for calling in also. So for District 3, some of the plans that I have for District 3 are better paying jobs for residents of District 3, and also improve housing, because the Chad Brown area is within my district. So we'll improve public housing and also educational opportunities, and also we're a good fighter for criminal justice and law enforcement reform. But in regards of education, I think so far, like people said, we're failing, but now we're hailing in the right path right now, because now the state has taken over, like the state of Providence schools. We have a uniform curriculum right now, so things are heading in the right direction, basically in Providence right now with the commissioner and with the new superintendent. I mean, there's a promise right there. There's a good pathway on right now. And also for housing, also we discussed about earlier about public housing within the city as compared to public housing in different communities. So those are some of the regs that we're going to start taking a look at, most especially for Main and District 3, and see exactly where, comparing just like in the world, just public housing, and see exactly what is the difference between public housing in the city and public housing in different communities. So I'm going to take a look at that, because in actuality, I haven't seen any equity when it comes to public housing in the city. So it's it's going to be one of my focus. And also law enforcement reform, like, criminal justice reform also. Something that we're talking about. We spoke about this earlier, that when we do have people that have done their time and it out, I think we should give them a clean slate again. Right, so I think within the law, I think it's called a double jeopardy, that you can't try someone twice for the same crime. Yep. So basically, I think we keep trying our people within our community over and over again, because they did the time, they're out, and while they're out, they stay doing the time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
So those are things I'm going to take a look at also.
I just got a comment from Bebby. I hope I said your name right. Moving from Rhode Island to MA, and seeing where MA, Massachusetts, basically is education-wise, is an eye-opening. Rhode Island is so behind compared to other states in the U.S. Massachusetts is listed as #1 for education in the U.S., while Rhode Island is in the 40s out of 50 states.
Exactly.
So, I think that's why I focus on just education, like few seconds ago. And I think this is why we have like the new commissioner name now, and with the new superintendent in Providence, that try to put us on that right track. And it takes time for us to get exactly where Massachusetts is today, but eventually with the people that we have in line leading us right now, we think that definitely we are on the right track. Definitely, we are on the right track.
I do want to say this about education and learning. I think we focus on making sure churches are beautiful, and making sure the city buildings are beautiful. They just built a beautiful parking garage across the street, but we don't do that for our schools, for our kids. It's uncomfortable to learn in a hot building. It's uncomfortable when it's 90 degrees outside and you're trying to learn. I know it's uncomfortable to learn, because I was a teacher's assistant in those same buildings. When there's no air conditioner, or the air conditioner don't work, where the heat sometimes doesn't work, or in certain parts of the building it works less than other parts. I think that's one of the biggest things that we need. We need a comfortable learning environment for our kids. Right. Like, how can we stuff them in buildings that were built in the 20s?
Right. So from what I'm hearing is there are funds that's going to be allocated towards rebuilding the schools and building new schools in Providence. So that's good to hear. I'm looking forward to seeing these changes take shape. One of the other things I'm concerned about is the school lunches. in City of Providence, our students are receiving a school lunch that costs the city 29 cents. So we have children that are being turned away for a school lunch because they don't qualify for it. But the meal costs 29 cents. Now, my issue with that is, how can a meal that costs 29 cents have proper nutrients that's going to fuel our children so that they can excel? So I have some issues with that.
Yeah, and I think that from a city perspective also, because the city do have like contract with our
Sodexo, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
with Sodexo. So those are some of the stuff that we can take a look at, school lunches and everything else. So
Yes.
because now the contract with Sodexo in regards to school lunch.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
So there's a lot. You guys have a long road ahead of y'all.
Absolutely.
At this time we're gonna wind down, but
Okay.
just anything else you want to say and get people amped up to vote for you. By the way, we have a lot of live people, but we also we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Periscope, which is Twitter's live feed is called Periscope. So we're on all these different platforms, but a lot of people go back and watch. How can just tell everybody like your end plans or anything you want to say at this point before we get off? All on you.
Well, I would just like to take the opportunity to share with you, to give you an opportunity to connect with me. If you have any questions, you can reach me. I'm on Facebook. My page is open to the public, and it's Janice Falconer. You can find my state representative page. It's at Vote for Janice 2020. And also, if you wanted to learn more about the education that we provide at Impact RI, we have a website. It's impactri.org. Also, I have a website. It's janicefalconer.com, and that's JANICE, F as in Frank, ALCONER.com.
Nathan?
Yeah, first of all, don't forget, the key date is September 8th.
That's right.
September 8th,
September
people.
8th, people, like that's the most important thing for us that do have like our incumbent. September 8th is primary day that you get out there and vote for us. Because like now, also you can find me my email address is nathanbiad3@gmail.com. Again, nathanbiad3@gmail.com. So you can find my Twitter account. My handle is like at nathanbiad. And also my Facebook, the same thing, at nathanbiad is my handle on Facebook also. So and my cell phone, everything is on my Facebook account and my Twitter account. My personal cell phone is there. You can reach out to me, text me, because we feel that look, once we get up there to serve the public, we should be out there, answering people questions, like, and one of the things that like my style is like, look, I don't have all of the answers. My answers that will come from people that I'm going to serve.
Yeah.
Right. So the people that we're going to be serving, and don't be surprised that when you sit with people in your district, people have good ideas to run within the city and within the district. And those people that will be going to those people, having meetings with them, having community meetings with them, backyard meetings with them, sit in people's backyard and have conversations and see exactly how we can help to solve some of the problems within our district. Because if I'm going to tell you here, so like I have all of the solution, I'm going to be lying to you, and which is like, that's not my style. That is not my style. My style is like to work with people within the community and for us to come up with a solution, and I'll be the voice as a representative representing you at the State House.
How far are you up Douglas Ave? How far is how far is your district up Douglas Ave? Is it
Douglas Ave
so
it's strictly going towards like it ends at the corner where it's a Tomato Pizza.
Tomato City.
Yeah, Tomato City.
All right, so
It's
I'm actually gonna be in your district. Hopefully, the black radio station I'm looking to buy is right there. So That's going to be in your district, so get ready for that. And I want to also thank Janice for she calls me all the time, texts me all the time, information of how I can make this black radio station thing happen. We're at 80% right now, so that other 20's coming within a couple of months, and we're going to be there. You're going to hear us in over 700,000 homes, and it's going to be amazing the things that we're going to be able to do and help our community with, because this is even though I have great counterparts everywhere else, this is a black radio station that I'm focusing on for black issues and black people and black things and black. And if you're offended by that, then you're the problem. So there's radio stations that play country all day.
Yep.
There it is. There's radio stations that play rock. There's racist radio stations like WPRO or John DePietro, who's on 99. So those radio stations go. We can have our own, and that's what I'm working on. And that is gonna come. That's happening really soon. So get ready for that. I want to thank everybody who listened to Janice Falconer today, District 13. Don't forget, September 8th, and then Nathan Biah, District 3, September 8th. We need to get these guys in office. You need to learn how to support these guys. We have to support our own. We have to support people that are for our community, that live in our community, that you can actually go to the supermarket or go to Walmart and see. They're not above being somewhere, not above being out in the community. Like, these are the people that we need in office. You guys have voted for certain people that their address says Providence, but they don't live there. So please do your research, and these are the guys that I'm bringing you that are in our community, that are for our community, that are our community. So just be aware of that, and I got some more good people coming up, so get ready for that. And thank you. Have a good night. Stay safe. Keep your family safe. We're out of here.
Thank you, Ruckus.
Thank you, Ruckus. Guys, everyone. September 8th.
If we didn't have Ruckus, we wouldn't have a voice. So I got to add the media. Let me tell you something, okay? I'm going to be talking about restrictions. There's going to be, I feel as though we need to have some restrictions on some of the things that's being played in the media that's influencing our children. But that's for a whole nother show.
Yeah, we'll
but
talk
thank
about
God
that.
we got Ruckus, because he's given us an opportunity to have a voice out here.
Definitely, and we'll have our voice. So guys, don't forget, now District 3 and District 13, September